See on our screen right now a TBM 700 that plane has crashed on the island of Jamaica. We don't have any more information about it or about the number of souls on board. We believe, based on Trace's reporting from the Coast Guard, that there were 3 people on board, but that has not yet been confirmed. J.P. Tristani is an aviation consultant, a former Marine Corps pilot. JP, it's the kind of ending we feared, but certainly nobody was hoping for. It appears that pilot incapacitation or something like that happened here.
Extraordinary that a small island like Jamaica it would choose to run out of gas and crash there. But as far as I'm concerned, far better than requiring either the Cuban Air Force or United States Air Force to cut it in half while it's over the seas or threatening somewhere else. Because that would have been the alternative. Had it been threatening any other country, they would have had no course but to shoot it down. So better that it crashed, and hopefully it injured no one on the ground in Jamaica. That's the real tragedy. If this happens, the people on board the aircraft are dead, that it also did not cause collateral damage. That would be a compounded tragedy.
Yeah. Again, memories of the Payne Stewart crash, that Learjet that ultimately took the professional golfer to his death, went down in a wheat field in the Dakotas, as I recall, Fred TC, and dug a hole very deep in the earth. We don't know exactly what happened to this plane when it landed on Jamaica, when it hit Jamaica, but we are told by authorities on the island there that it has crashed.
Yeah, and this is a very different airplane than the Learjet. You know, the Lear is a very sleek airplane. It's a you know, that when the Lear lost power with the Payne Stewart accident, that airplane hit the ground at an incredibly high rate of speed. This airplane would have had a windmilling propeller to actually slow it down a little bit until the engine lost oil pressure, which would have then stopped the propeller. So I mean, we don't know. We don't know what happened. And it is very, very sad. This is, unfortunately, John, this is actually the second time this has happened in the last 10 days. We had a single-engine airplane at 21,000 feet. The pilot lost consciousness, and he was going towards Manassas, Virginia, went right over Washington, D.C., and out into the ocean. And so this is, you know, unfortunately, this is the second time in almost 2 weeks.
Again, for those who might be listening, the supposition here is that this plane lost cabin pressure. You hear about that on your jetliners. They tell you about the masks that are going to drop down from the ceiling. In a commercial aircraft, that's a different kind of oxygenation system than would have been carried on a plane like this. Leland Vittert is still with us. Leland has been covering it as well. Leland, the sad news is that this flight has come to an end with a crash in Jamaica. It does not sound like that would have been survivable, even if anybody were still alive on board this craft.
Well, exactly, and what you have to think about, John, is that the time that they spent at 25,000 feet conceivably without any type of oxygen, because they were not responsive, would have rendered them unconscious as the plane then descended. What's interesting is if we still have the track of this plane. It left about 8:30 from Rochester, New York. It was flying to Naples, Florida. At 10 o'clock, it was flying at 28,000 feet. And just then at 10 o'clock is when it descended the 3,000 feet and made that turn to the left, heading out east that would eventually take it there over the eastern seaboard down to Cuba, and we now down to Jamaica. And as we have heard from the FAA, it was 10 o'clock that they lost any type of contact with those in that plane, and then the F-16s found it with frosted windows, a ghost plane, if you will, as you said, until it got to Jamaica.
You know, it's interesting, John, when the airplane first left Rochester, it had a little bit of a westerly track, so it had to have been an even number, so it would have been at 280. He then turned to the east, and then you have to be under FAA rules as an odd number, so 250, so that's why the change.
All right. Fred TC, J.P. Tristani, who joined us by phone, Trace Gallagher, and Leland Vittert.